All right, sir. So we have previously talked about several different strategies on how we can provide value and help a homeowner or a borrower or a seller out of a foreclosure scenario. So just to recap the timeline, let me go back to the beginning. So like how a foreclosure works is basically a seller or a homeowner usually experiences some kind of hardship. Sometimes there could be a situation where like potentially the one that we just talked to, like this lady, again, we're only speculating, like maybe she owns the home, she's remote, she's virtual or out of state or not local. She's got a property manager or somebody is managing the property or tending the property on her behalf and is not making the payments. I don't know how that could, now that I think about it, because like if she's on the hook for the loan, like she's gonna get notifications. She should be getting notifications that like there's a default. So to not have some kind of understanding that there's some kind of a default or a foreclosure is it's possible, but it's very unlikely, I think. But anyways, they missed some payments. Say they're a couple months behind, 3 months behind. So this would be a pre-foreclosure process where there's no notice of default filed yet. And then officially, the lender will begin the foreclosure proceedings by sending a official notice of defaults. And so for Texas, we don't worry about it. But if it's not in Texas, they'll file a lis pendens, which is basically a Latin word for a lawsuit. In a state where there's no deed of trust, like I'm not sure what Florida has, to be honest, but in the Carolinas, they do not use a deed of trust. They use a mortgage deed. So that means the foreclosure has to go through the courts. It's got to be prosecuted in a court of law. And then the next thing here we have in Texas with a deed of trust is a notice of trustee sale. So all the data, Alex, that you're calling for Guadalupe and Comal County, that data is public record. And what's on public record are the trustee sales. So the trustee, on behalf of the loan servicer or the investor, prosecutes the foreclosure. After the auction happens, if the house does not sell at the auction, then it will go back to the lender and it will become real estate owned or an REO, in which the lender at that point will go and do what they have to do to get it sold. And they usually hold the real estate for several months before they get it listed. And the banks do not want to own real estate. They want to lend money and make money off of nothing. So they're not in the business of owning assets. Oh, not real estate assets anyways. They want to sell it fast and just liquidate. That being said, we've talked about a couple of options we have. We probably have maybe one more option than Mike Frankie, but I think his 5 is basic and it gets the job done. Not saying it's the only ones, but straight cash, no, pretty simple. Subject to, all right, you already know what that is. A loan modification, and a loan mod. We could do a loan mod and a sub to. Just depends. It just depends what's going on here. So we've done all these so far. If there's a temporary hardship, like a divorce or a job loss, then there can be a potential forbearance. Like COVID was a forbearance time, but the problem with the forbearance time, and I think this is where the Kristen Beal comes in, the numbers, the payments don't stop accruing, and the lender somehow has to recapture that money. And so it just has to be considered how those missed payments are going to be recaptured somehow, and they could just amortize it over the rest of the loan and raise all the payments like a little bit or whatever. Like, I mean, it just depends. A short sale. So I have the ability as a licensed agent to list the property on a short sale. As I've learned about this from the agent side, it's really involved. It's really complicated. It's really costly. Sometimes they're not successful for various reasons. So we at that point would refer out to another agent that specializes in these kinds of things for a fee. So this would be a refer to agent for us, but these are opportunities that we will come across, which the lender is willing to take more take less than what's owed, just because it's more convenient and less costly than prosecuting a foreclosure. A deed in lieu of foreclosure, well, this is what ZEP was going to do before we did the loan modification. So they had no way of doing this, so they were going to avoid so this is not the best thing you want on your credit, but if the borrower is genuinely trying to work something out, they can give the keys to the bank and give them the deed back, deed it to them in light of having a foreclosure. But they just want to make sure that there's no other liens, the title's clear, and the property's in good condition. Here's another one right here that we can also do through our network, is purchase the note, especially if it's not performing. There's people that crush it. So this is where guys like Alex and Eduardo we were talking to yesterday, like they want to see the numbers that are like they just want to see what the numbers look like. What's the ARV? What's the as-is value? What's the note amount? What's the rate on it? How much of a discount can we buy it at? Because in the event that the note, the new buyer needs to prosecute the foreclosure, like and recapture the asset, like they just want to make sure that they're going to get an adequate amount of return on it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does.
Yep.
We could buy it sub 2 and sell it on a wrap. So this is kind of, to me, like the same. Like this doesn't really help this. I mean, it helps the seller in the event that they don't go to foreclosure, but this is more of a buyer situation. So this is straight subject to, at least with an option. This is the thing. Equity sharing, we're not doing this, at least not now. Sell and lease back, it's kind of a similar situation. We could wholesale it. Bankruptcy is going to be another one. A private and a bridge loan. So working with these guys, provided that the numbers work right, like the one with Guzman, where he's got enough equity, like they can get. So like they're saying that they have a workaround to get somebody a hard money loan and a primary residence, then that's on them. But if that's an opportunity, then we can get a referral fee here, and they I think they said they're like, if we can get all the information they need, we'll get a half of the commission on it. So if these guys are getting 3-4 points on a, for example, follow me here. If they're gonna write a $650,000 loan on this property, and they get 3 points or 4 points to originate that loan, right? Let's say 2 points. So 2 points on that would be $12,000. Or actually $13,000. So like 1 point is 1%. 1% of the 650 is 6,500. 2 points, 13 grand, and then we would get half of the commission for the referral. So not every hard money loan is going to be that large. Most of them are probably going to be 200 grand ish. So that'd be probably $2,000 or so, probably on average. Formal assumption, definitely not doing that. Not for us. Cash for keys. HUD approved counseling is something that we can do. If they want to stay in the home, and there's these government has some counselors you can find on here at HUD.gov that give you some other options that help them get informed about how to avoid the foreclosure. You can do a novation on one of these if there's enough equity in it, but we just need to catch it sooner in the process than later. If we catch it at the end, like with 3 weeks left, a novation's probably going to be unrealistic. But if we catch a trustee sale that's posted for 3 months out, we might be able to get it with a novation. And also do a backup. So what we could provide is say, hey, let's try to novate it and get you the most money. In the event that we cannot, we will buy the house and we could buy it sub 2. This is not really something that we're probably going to do. Partial interest purchase. It's just kind of more of a probate situation. If there's more than one owner, we can try to get that done. Installment sale, that's basically like an owner finance. And this is really kind of what we have here. So to recapitulate our options, we're going to tailor our approach a little bit, and this is where I want to work with you to dial in our cold call scripts, and then our process call is going to be pretty much the same. Okay? But when we're doing this, our options are like Frankie, like I love what he does. He's like, okay, you can reinstate the loan, borrow money from somebody else, reinstate the loan. That's the best option for you. 2, if that doesn't work, then we can shoot for a loan modification. If you cannot get a loan modification for whatever reason under the sun, then the next thing you can do to stop the auction is a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, a full skeleton bankruptcy, which is going to stall the process, but it doesn't solve the problem. Also, usually when people need loan modifications, the problem also hasn't been solved, like their financial habits haven't changed, whatever it is, like it's usually going to be like, it's usually, not always, but a delay. It just stops it now, but if you don't make changes and make, and tighten up, we're going to be having this conversation again in another 6, 12, 18 months. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of these people we're finding have more than one partial claim deed of trust on the property.
Right.
Follow me?
Yep.
Then the next one is going to be a straight cash purchase. Is there enough equity in this for us to buy this cash? Guzman had that situation. We could do it with Guzman. We cannot do that with Josh Martinez. It's not going to happen. He does not have enough equity. I think he's leveraged at like 91 or 92% loan to value right now.
Yeah.
So it's probably got an FHA loan, because you can get an FHA loan with a 3.5% down. And so the only way his would work for us is listed it. A short sale could work for him if the bank so permits it, but it's not going to be like, they're not going to take $100,000 off it because of this. It's not going to happen that way. His house is too new and too nice of a neighborhood. You following me there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like, for example, like if the bank sees that they can foreclose and get a good, like sell it for like market rate, they're not going to take a short sale with less than, really, I think it might be like 4% or 8% less than what they can get, like listing it on the market as a bank owned house, right? So they want to mitigate their losses, and that's how they would do that.
Right.
So this is just where we're going to have to gather the information, see what actually is going on, get the truth. That's the hard part.
That's the hard part.
That's the hardest part.
That's the hardest part.
That's the hardest part. Get the information clearly, and then, okay, based off of this information, which of these strategies can work? And then we also, like for us, if we were to buy, like for example, Homeboy's house, we could go and relist it as an owner finance, like a strict owner finance, where we're not going to do anything but this, where we buy it sub 2 and we wrap it. So like he's got a 5.75% rate on it. We could go and wrap it for like an 8 or a 9 and make some arbitrage. You can make a ton of money doing this, right? Which is a possibility. Which I might even consider doing. If he gets the loan mod, I might just put a couple grand, just close the deal and just sell it on a wrap. I'm not sure about New Braunfels, but I know San Antonio would crush that. That would be a phenomenal opportunity. Yes. So if we have more time on it, we can do a novation that's going to get them the most money, but also get it done quicker than a regular retail sale. So these are also in our tool belt, but the 5 primacy, and then we can add the 6th one. We can add the purchasing of a potential refinance with a hard money loan if they want to stay in the house and they have enough equity. And then, depending on their situation, we could always have somebody buy the note from them. But that's kind of going to be like a short sale a little bit. That's going to be like the lender taking a discount with a private investor to buy the note, and that's the end of the story. But if we can keep it, all of these solutions really can help. And now if we, so like if we get into the thick of the weeds where like a Kristen Beal, she absolutely wants to stay in the house. If she cannot get a loan modification done for whatever reason, then we can look at doing some kind of other strategy where her arrears are too high. Yeah, her arrears are too high. But let's say her arrears were like 30 grand. Well, we could potentially buy it subject to, and then have her rent the house from us and give her an option to purchase with an option fee of like whatever the down payment is plus 20%, whatever our reinstatement fee plus 20%. So it's like we paid 30, we'll do it back for 40. We'll give you, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can just sell the house back to her, and we can
Yeah.
still make money on it. You follow me here?
Think so, yeah.
So this is kind of the basics. Just want to hit it real clear, so that way, like, we know the options that we're able to do, and we know the scenarios that each one of these options would be most viable, tenable, and doable. Because as you know, like all of them are different. Everybody's situation is completely different.
100%.
Yeah. Does this make sense? Are you following me here? Do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
No, I mean, I'm sure I'll have questions if like there's something that we need to dive into on a particular situation, at that point. But I think as a overall overview, generally kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we have the list here of questions from Eduardo and Alex, and I think that's a great. All that information is more than enough to make it to kind of determine the path forward.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to stop this.